welcome to the Ditch the Struggle podcast. I'm your host, Alana Rosso. I'm a graphic designer turned career and success coach who knew I could do better, but kept falling short of where I wanted to go. But after years of exploring personal and career development, business, money mindset, and energy work, I'm here to tell you that yes, you can move from stuck and defeated to empowered and confident. Ready to dive in? Awesome. Together, let's ditch the struggle. Hi everyone, welcome to Ditch the Struggle. Today I'm thrilled to have an interview to share with you with one of my favorite people and definitely one of my favorite energy healers. Her name is Rose Morrow. We have worked together for years. She is an energy healing practitioner with Bliss Energy Healing, and she is a wonderful human, and she's had a profound impact on my life, my health, our dog's health. We're going to talk about that in the interview today. We're going to talk about all the things. And first, I'm going to share her bio. And what I love about her bio is that it is actually a little bit of a story. So let me share Rose's words. 20 years ago, my family went through an unexpected and heart-wrenching separation following my divorce. Our once close-knit family was broken apart. I did my best with counseling, self-help books, workshops, daily meditation, and exercise. I made all kinds of changes, and still, I needed to find something else to pull myself together. I retired from teaching and moved to France. I went back to college to improve my fluency in French. I changed my diet to plant-based. I met new people, and yet I still felt stuck, disconnected. One day, a close friend shared a link with an introduction to the emotion code. All of a sudden, it made total sense to me. I had done all I could on a conscious level, and now it was time to go deeper and into my subconscious. This is where our thoughts, emotions, and memories of all the past are hidden. The subconscious records everything we've ever done in our lives. I started to access this deep well of information. I had learned muscle testing 5 years earlier at a workshop, and immediately I started to see results. It felt so empowering. Soon after, I shared this with my adult kids. They were curious and open to this new kind of work, and they loved these healing systems and felt lighter and more at ease, just as I did. As we slowly knitted our family back together again, this work allowed us to all reconnect and find peace with each other. With further study, certification, and encouragement, I expanded and created a professional practice to help others on their healing journey. So we are now going to talk with Rose about the emotion code and all this incredible healing work that she does. So why don't we just dive right in, Rose? Why don't you just tell me a little bit about yourself, a bit about your background?
Yes, I've had an interesting kind of eclectic background, moving a lot, and I think it really introduced me to starting conversations with people and meeting people from all around the world. And I think from a very young age, I was interested in all the differences in cultures and just loved meeting all kinds of different people. And then, naturally I wanted to work with people as I went to college and became a teacher. And I worked with kids who had, specific issues running from some learning difficulties right up to gifted. So I thought, and then of course, you work with their families. So I think I've always been working with people. Mm-hmm. And anytime I had challenges in my own life, I would always ask why and look for books. And I did spend a lot of time in libraries. Yeah.
I know you've used the word introspection. I've heard you use that word introspection, that you were a very introspective person, always asking questions. And then you just said you were always asking why. So why do you think you were always asking why?
I've wondered that. I probably because of so much exposure, flying on planes, being by myself, not always with my family, and just receiving so much lovely communication and help from people beyond outside my family.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you had such an interesting, way of growing up. You were moving around all the time and in different places, and everything
Yes.
seemed to be, you were like very dispersed, it seems. And so
Yeah.
you were in different places, and that seems to have an effect on this potential healing journey that you've been on.
Yes, because you don't have that, and I know that my father did his best. My mother, had an illness right after I was born, so maybe we had her for maybe until I was about 2.
Wow.
But, so I really appreciated people just all around me and taking, how people do things, out of the goodness of their heart, and
Mm-hmm.
I saw a lot of that. I was very fortunate.
Yeah. And I feel like you do your work out of the goodness of your heart. You're very
Yeah.
altruistic.
Mm.
So you had some challenges in your life.
Yes.
You were dispersed. You've lost your mother. So that
Yes.
must have been heartbreaking. And you go through life and things are challenging. And I want to know how you ended up going into energy work. And I know you specifically do emotion code work. So why don't you tell me how you got to that part of your life?
As I said, I read, quite a few books, and I had, a couple of friends who were also interested in holistic healing,
Hmm.
and, she still thinks I sent her the link, but I do believe my good friend Elizabeth and Cindy sent me the link to the ebook,
Oh,
uh,
wow.
Emotion Code, written by Dr. Bradley Nelson.
Okay.
And 5 years prior to that, uh, I I had gone to, and like I said, not only reading books, I used to go to all these different before the days of podcasts and online
Hmm.
events. You had to go in person.
Yeah.
Kinda like you and I went to in,
Yeah. In
down
2020.
yeah, in San Diego. So, I did go to one, and it was the facilitator talked about muscle testing,
Okay.
and she got us all on the spot had a muscle test, and I thought, "Yeah, yes, and no," and people around me were going, "What? What?" And I thought,
You
"Oh my
just
god,"
got
I
it.
was like, "Yes," because I can ask myself those questions now and get those answers, see?
Okay. Oh, I'm
That's
just dying to let the listeners to know what your explanation of muscle testing is, because I feel
yeah,
like some people might not even know. And one of the things that's interesting about working with you is I feel you have just an innate ability to do it. I don't know what it is about it. When you do it, I completely trust what's coming up and how you're doing it. So why don't you talk a bit about that and then more into
and
the energy process?
and I would like to also, say when we do sessions, you are so open, and
Mm,
so that makes everything that we find, all the more on point. That's
yeah.
really that's kind of cool that that your openness.
Hmm.
But, muscle testing is binary system. It's a yes or no question. We connect essentially with the person's, subconscious
Hmm.
to check in with what's going on.
Okay.
The reason we do that is because and this has been, talked about in neuroscience and psychology and such, that we hold 95% of our memories, our hopes, our dreams, all the things that we saw, heard, experienced in our subconscious. And often those kinds of imprints drive our daily life without us knowing.
Yeah.
And so the muscle testing taps into that wealth of knowledge
Yeah.
on a very personal level. And so energy runs through the muscles of the body. And so if we're trying to find out, say, what's blocking you from manifesting
Hmm.
uh, your next goal, we will ask a question. Now, if we get, is something blocking you? If we get a yes, that means that there's a discord in that energy circuitry. I
Okay.
know I'm not explaining. Honestly, there's so much written about the muscle testing, but that's what we use.
Yes. And it's the idea that the body knows the answer to really everything, which is your subconscious answering through the body, and you're muscle testing. And there's a couple different techniques that people use. I'm going to, like, some people might know the one that's more common where you put your arm out.
Yes.
And because I know one of my chiropractors works this way, and you put your
Yes.
arm out, and if it's a yes, your arm stays strong. And if it's a no, your arm goes down. And it's just something in your body that knows that it's a yes or
Yes.
a no. And you're doing that on behalf of the person you're working with, the client, but you don't use
Yes.
your arm, you use your hands, right?
I use that. This is kind of there's a name for this, and Dr. Brad, it's in the Emotion Code book. And this works just as effectively remotely as it does in person. I think it's the whole in one, the
Yeah.
whole in one method.
Yes.
And it's incredible. When I first started using it, it blew me away
Yes. And
with the accuracy.
yeah, and I've seen this technique, and I've learned this technique myself, and it's in what's really interesting. I've never really been great at trusting myself with my own muscle testing, but for some reason, as I said, when you're doing it, I do. And yeah, for those, obviously some people who are listening, they won't necessarily see the video, but yeah, Rose are using kind of your finger in your hand to get a yes or a no, and it's immediate feedback.
Yes. Right.
Okay, so you start learning this, you start learning about the motion code, you're getting
So
into muscle testing. You seem to take to it like a fish to water, as they say.
yeah. When I read the emotion code, so easy reading, the way he explains different things, I really resonated because I had already practiced the muscle testing. So I thought, I could do this work. And I wasn't going to, obviously, at that point, I wasn't going to do it with, you know, professionally or anything. I was just going to see what I could do to release any energies whatsoever from my own body. And then my
Okay.
friend, we worked together, we exchanged sessions over, back then it was Skype,
Yes.
because we're talking 2010.
Oh, I remember we Skyped. We used to
Yeah.
Skype.
Yeah.
We've graduated to Zoom. Yep.
Yeah. And yeah, and she was amazed of how effective things that came up for her, because I didn't know her when she was growing up. I just knew her
Mm-hmm.
as an adult. And
Okay.
so it's that kind, and vice versa, of course. So we were both amazed with uh how on point the muscle testing was to release trapped emotions, to
Okay.
release ancestral trauma,
Yes.
emotions passed down through the family, and of course the heart wall
Mm.
that is so much a deep part of the emotion code.
Okay. Yes. Getting into the heart wall, all of that is, I love all that digging that you do, and the belief part. Why
Yeah.
don't you tell me, so we understand how would you summarize the emotion code work? Because it is profound work. And actually, even before you do that, one thing I want to mention is how I found you with the emotion code work is that
Yeah.
I knew someone in Toronto doing emotion code work. She actually introduced me to it. And I worked with her for a bit. But here's what's kind of interesting. I loved the work. I didn't love working with her. I didn't feel that she actually was of full integrity. And there was just something that wasn't a great fit. But I didn't ditch emotion code work. I knew that there was something to it. And I knew I resonated with me. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to go online. I'm going to find someone else. So I think I literally Googled emotion code work Toronto. You were in Montreal at the time,
Right.
and you
Right.
somehow came up because I guess it was Canadian. And you were like the first person that came up almost in the list. And I was like, oh, she looks lovely. We had a chat, and that was it. And I think that was 2015. We started working together. So that's how I found you. But also I remember that because you can sometimes not be in love with working with one particular practitioner, but I encourage people not to just forget about that modality. Just try someone else.
Yes.
And now it's been a great connection, and we've worked together on so many of my issues. So that's how I found you. I thought that was an interesting story. I don't know if you remember much of that story,
Oh,
but
I do. I remember.
yeah.
And the years go by quite quickly, and yet I do remember those early years before I even moved to Montreal, and then in
Mhm.
Montreal, that's when I decided to actually do the work professionally.
Okay.
And so you found me about 2 years after I became certified. So
Oh,
2 years
okay.
in.
You've been doing it a while then. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
so back to how would you describe the emotion code work? If someone has never heard about it, never thought about it, how would you describe it?
It's a method to check in with your body, going deeper from conscious awareness, going deeper to see if there's anything that is blocked that is in your body that's stopping you from seeing a clear path. And I mean, stuck emotions, things that have happened, some stress, loss,
Mhm.
sadness, all kinds of different things can
Yeah.
cause us to not be able to recognize uh, emotions that could be stopping us, or even the ability to cry. Uh, that has come up for people, even through some really gnarly situations. And so it's just a beautiful way to tap into the body, the subconscious, try and use from a series of questions,
Hmm.
using muscle testing to see what is stuck there.
Yeah.
Then we use a method to release each of those emotions, or it could be even triggers.
Yeah.
It could be prenatal emotions,
Yes.
shared, absorbed, and of course, like I said, inherited.
Yes, because everything goes through our family lineage. It's energy. We're passing things down. I mean, there is no linear time. Well, we won't go down that rabbit hole, but everything is connected. We're connected to
We really
our
are.
parents, grandparents. It's all of that trauma and all of those experiences. Some of it's great, some of it's stressful, and we bring it into our lives.
Yes, we really do without even realizing it.
What would you say is one of the most profound shifts that you would have experienced through motion code work personally? Like, without, going in, you don't have to share everything, but what's like one major shift that you really noticed?
You know, to be honest with you, a super, super major, major shift
Okay.
is I finally, now touch wood, it's been several years, I finally gave myself a session and I unearthed that it's giving me chills even,
Mm.
um, trapped emotions and different energies that created literally major cravings for chocolate and
Oh,
sugar, but especially chocolate. And whereas
wow.
I would carry chocolate with me in my purse, in my glove compartment, in my car, keep it in the pantry at home. I always had
Oh,
it around me. It was almost like a safety thing.
how
And sure enough,
interesting.
things came up from those early years, between two, for me, it was between 2 and 7.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So much comes up between those years. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Basically, by the time we're 8, we've really established a lot of our thought patterns, beliefs,
Yeah.
habits, behaviors, and things like that.
Yes.
Fascinating. And so are you not eating as much chocolate now, or like has that shifted?
I actually can go through here in California, we have Trader Joe's and they have
Oh,
this
yes.
beautiful array of chocolates, of
Oh,
course, right next to the cash register.
yes.
I can go buy that cash or those chocolates and put my groceries, line up my groceries to check out in front of the cash register without buying the chocolate.
Oh,
And
wow.
it
That's
doesn't
huge.
sound like a big deal, but
Yeah.
it really is. Because I would have, anytime I ever got upset,
Hmm.
I would have chocolate for dinner.
Hmm. Wow.
Um, and I mean a whole half bar or maybe a whole bar.
Yeah. And it is a big deal because we define ourselves. It's like, I'm sure you were thinking, I'm this person who loves chocolate and eats chocolate every day. And we define ourselves by this vision of ourselves. It doesn't matter if it's eating chocolate, it can be that we think we're lazy, whatever it is. But if we can
Right.
change that and shift that definition of ourselves,
Yes.
it's huge.
Because something else must have shifted in terms of personal safety.
Right.
I somehow I might have associated the chocolate to keep me safe
Yeah.
during those early years of moving everywhere with different caregivers.
Yes, it became just like a safety blanket that you could take with
Yes,
you wherever you go. It's portable. It's like wherever you go, you
that's
can
right.
have some chocolate because you were living in, I think you said 20 different schools and 5 different continents. Is that
Yes.
correct?
By the
Because
time I was 14, yeah.
yeah, that's a lot of changing and
Crazy.
shifting. It's like no terra firma under you, like no feeling of
No,
like Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know for some of the sessions, we've done quite a few sessions together, but I know I've seen you for a lot of stress and anxiety issues. And I just want, I'll share like some kind of things that we've talked about so that people know what they can chat to you about because um, everyone knows that I'm obsessed with my dog. And when she goes, she's had a lot of interesting health issues, you know, and when she goes through things, the effect it has on me
Yeah.
is it's intense. And my stuff on her, on my dog too, on Dolly as well. And so I know I've talked to you for basically some trauma things, especially um
Yeah.
she fell, if you remember, she fell down some stairs in our house. Even I forgot to block the stairs off. She's a dachshund, so we don't like her doing stairs. And she, in
Okay.
2022, went flying up the stairs. We have wooden stairs, and I was at the top of the stairs, and she ended up falling like all the way down, like 5 or 6 stairs. And the whole thing was in slow motion. She ended up pretty injured after, but we didn't actually know right away. But it was the trauma and the shock of that. And I felt so guilty for not having blocked the stairs. Right. And these are the things that happen to us in our life that can actually really mess us up
Yes.
because you're so emotionally attached. I felt like I was in charge of her care. And so I know you really helped me through that a lot. We had a few sessions on that, I think.
Yes. For you, and for Dolly.
Yes, you work on animals.
Yes.
Why don't you just talk to a little bit about working on animals?
That also gives me chills for some reason. Why? The cool thing is, what comes up to say immediately is animals are so receptive to this work. As I said earlier, you've
Mhm,
always been very open.
mhm,
Well, dogs and cats, and I've worked with two horses. Um,
mhm.
they're very, very open and receptive. They're especially, they're next to their owner who they love, their mom, dad, and on the couch usually, or even on their beautiful bed. And so I often get owners to pass their hand down the dog or cat's back to release trapped emotions down their
Yes, you
government
taught me how to
memory.
do that. Yes.
And the dog, I remember Dolly was instantly relaxed.
Yes.
And by the end of the session, we only do 30-minute sessions
Yes.
max on dogs and cats. And by the end of the session, she was so relaxed. Remember?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You've worked on it many times and they're really receptive to it. And
Yes.
always interesting that when you work on the animal, it affects you, I hate to use the word
Yes.
owner, but as well. Like I know when you work on Dolly, and we've had those sessions, I feel it too. And when she releases her energy or the trapped emotions of the trauma, especially she was a rescue dog, so she had lots of issues coming
Right.
forward. But it works both ways. You release it from them, you feel it, and you release from you, and the animal feels it. It's amazing, really.
Yes, because in the emotion code, that is called a shared trapped emotion.
Okay.
Shared heart wall trapped emotion,
Okay.
shared trapped emotion, even shared absorb. It's amazing. So when we release that one particular trapped emotion, either from you or from Dolly, an automatic, because it's shared vibrational frequency, it automatically released from you. And so at the end of the session, um, you might have felt that shift, just gentle.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Dolly was sleeping. And
Yes.
while we sleep, and animals included, uh, we actually release or the most trapped energies, the processing work
Mm-hmm.
going,
Mm-hmm.
going on, especially within our subconscious. And
Mm-hmm.
so when Dolly was sleeping there, her body was able to because when you're sleeping, your body's not doing anything else. It's not digesting, it's not walking, it's not really hardline thinking.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
so fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating, and it's acknowledging our interconnectedness with all forms
Yes.
of life and all
Yes.
beings. Yeah. Why
Yeah.
don't you tell me a little bit the heart wall? Because when I started learning about this, I was very fascinated, and just the word heart wall. When I heard it, I was like, oh. We close our hearts off. That's immediately what I thought about. We're leading with our heads all the time. We're forgetting about our hearts. Talk to me about the heart wall.
Yes. And we can also release heart wall trapped emotions from pets as well.
Mm.
It's essentially when we go through, as I mentioned, any kind of trauma, even something we don't think that was really a big deal or hurtful, because, we learn to handle these things. But what happens is the subconscious says, okay, I think your heart's had enough for now. We're going to put this beautiful soft barrier of energy around your heart so your heart doesn't get hurt again. But in so doing, what happens, the barrier at times, not always, may close off our hearts and we become a little isolated, maybe emotionally, we could feel depressed or
Mhm.
anxious. And physically, we could have shoulder tightness up here, even in the neck,
Yeah.
uh, because we're kind of, we're on guard.
Yeah. Yes.
So it's
Like
amazing. And then we also might feel more distant from
mm,
other people
like
because
disconnected.
disconnected. Yeah, that's the word.
Yeah, like shut down. Like it's literally
Shut
like a
down.
wall. Like I've been hurt, I've been sad, things have been too hard. I'm just gonna shut down. And meanwhile, your heart is like a brain, right? Don't they it's like another brain. Like you have your head as a brain, your heart, and also your stomach is a brain.
And you're very creative.
Yeah.
Your whole career has been in the
Yeah.
creative arts. And
Yes.
so that old saying that we've heard,
Yeah.
uh, our heart is the seat of our creativity.
Hmm.
Uh, we shut that off. Maybe, and again, everyone's different. Our source of inspiration, our
Yeah.
source of optimism is dimmed. It might
Yes.
feel like it, but
Yeah.
on paper, when you're creating, at your desk, you go, wait a minute. Or a writer, for example,
Hmm.
might come up with creative insecurity, that writer's block. I can't really seem to get this, what I want, said down on
Hmm.
the page. See?
Yes. And everyone goes through some kind of creative block at some point. Even if you don't have a
Yes.
creative career, you just like, I can't figure out how to solve this problem. I can't figure out. We all go through it. And I think we need to get out of our heads and into the heart, right?
Yes, and a nice thing too, what I've added, and it's not in the emotion code, but Dr. Bradley Nelson did say, because I've gone to a few
Hmm.
in-person seminars with him and his team, even went to one in October. He did say that if there's something that comes up for you and, it's kind of out of the box, but it's going to benefit your client,
Yeah.
then go do that. So what I started doing, because I do TM every day
And what's
and
TM?
transcendental meditation.
Okay.
I actually told my son yesterday, almost 38 years.
That's
So,
impressive.
and you do it every morning and you do it at night and even in the middle of the night if you ever wake up or something. But the cool thing is, and what did I say? Oh, because the meditation, so I infuse a very, I don't know, a short guided meditation to say after we release the heart wall,
Hmm.
to infuse the spaces that we just cleared with unconditional love, with light,
Yeah.
with safety, and
Yes.
with calm, especially because, people are going through anxious times
Hmm.
these
Oh,
days,
yeah. Yes.
especially
Yes.
post-COVID.
Yeah. No,
Uh,
it's been wacky for everybody. And
yeah.
I think we're all still feeling it. I mean, I'm definitely feeling it. And
Yes.
what would you say are some of the most common reasons people decide to try emotion code?
I think when things come up in relationship,
Okay.
either marriage or family or even business associates,
Okay.
um, those are three huge areas. Finances. If
Mm,
they're trying to get a business off the ground
okay.
and they know that, and I relate to this. I just worked with a client the other day who just has some blockage with putting themselves out there in
Hmm.
social media.
Like visibility.
His ability to do
Okay.
the marketing,
Yes.
you know,
Huge for a lot of
and
people.
was there a
Yes.
block there?
Okay.
And so, and then health.
Mm,
Health is huge, either emotional, mental health, or physical health, pain in the knee.
Yeah.
pain in the,
You've worked on my knee before. Yes. Yeah.
and especially something that affects their mobility.
Okay.
Uh, and working within the health
Okay.
area, it really runs the gamut.
So it's
I
physical
even,
and emotional.
yes, because I
Okay.
even worked with two different people up in northern Washington with acne.
And how did that session go? Like it was
Honestly,
helping to
it was
clear?
just it helped clear their skin.
What was the
Now,
root cause of the acne then?
exactly.
Yes.
It all came up because the emotion code chart includes 60 emotions. And
Okay.
so that it's amazing how many different things can come up. And what I've noticed in the last year or so, other things come up that aren't even on the chart. And we just go with that.
Right. So what are
You
some
know,
of these emotions that are on the chart just to give a sense of like, because there's a
depression,
gamut, the 60, right?
sure. Anger, bitterness, love,
Mm-hmm.
unreceived, rejection, unworthiness,
That's a big
overwhelm,
one. Yeah.
heartache, uh,
Frustration, is that one of them too?
frustration is
Yeah.
one, failure,
Yeah.
um, indecisiveness is huge.
Oh, and how does that sometimes show up in someone's life? Indecisiveness.
Yes, that is when they're trying this it comes it's really something that can unblock their path
Right.
when they're trying to figure out what to do in that relationship, or how are they going to manifest a certain amount of money so that they can go out and
Mm-hmm.
start their own business, or
Mm,
even well, they're already doing that, and how can they make those decisions to create more financial abundance?
right. Because I see a lot of paralysis by analysis, right? You keep analyzing and going through the pro con list or doing all the things, and
Yeah,
some people are just really unable to make a decision.
right. And especially when they have little ones at home,
Yeah.
or someone in their family isn't doing well,
Yeah.
um, and then maybe their partner's away a lot on business.
Yeah.
It's or I don't know. There's the generation where they have to take care of an older parent, and they have a business, or they have
Mhm.
quite a significant career, and they have little ones at home.
Right. The sandwich generation.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. The sandwich generation. Yeah. That's one of my best friends is absolutely in that predicament right now. And it's like, it's a hard one.
And there's only so many hours in the
Yeah.
day.
That's
And
it.
you get through that one day, and then you go to sleep or try to sleep, and then the next day, guess what? You get up, and it's facing you again.
Yeah.
So that busyness,
Mhm.
that time crunch.
So stressful. It's just, there's so much stress for people. So I would say that if you're releasing some of these trapped emotions and limiting beliefs, then it helps relieve some stress so that you feel like you can just make the best decisions moving forward and keep
Yes,
going.
yes. And we do finish, and we include in the guided meditation. And this is those meditations, by the way, they're never scripted. They're,
Yeah.
they're completely in alignment with whatever we did during,
The
say, your,
session.
and
Yeah.
we fine tune it. And so that really, I think it gives people some added confidence
Mhm.
that they're heading toward opening a new door, you
There
know?
is a feeling, and listen, you physically feel it. I mean, I really feel it because you know how
Yes.
sensitive my
Yes,
system
you
is.
do.
But I mean, I always text you with like, and I'll be really transparent. There has been some sessions where the next day I've talked about how I will barf my guts out. I've done that because I had to actually release very intense things. Most of the time, it's just I'm tired and I just need to sleep
Yeah.
and have a bath and things like that. Um,
Yes.
but to me, that physical release, I kind of love it because it is the proof, the evidence that holy crap, something just shifted. Like I literally feel like a different person.
Yes. Yeah. It is so amazing. People they start tingling,
Mm-hmm.
parts of their extremities start tingling. Some have kind of get chills behind their neck.
Yeah.
Uh I just got chills just talking about it. It's just amazing for
Yeah.
different people what
Yes.
comes. I've had a couple of clients recently. I would say, so how are you doing? Just asking I love feedback, right?
Yeah.
Oh, why are you doing, moments of quiet and everything, and I'm releasing. And I hear a snore. Uh, People literally fall asleep.
Wow. And do you wake them
And
up?
not older people.
Just,
Even the
yeah.
young man, this about 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
son of a colleague of mine. He's about, I want to say 24, 25. He fell asleep and it was 10:30 in the morning.
Just like his body went into, I
Yeah.
mean, I think that's healing relaxation mode that they're
Yeah.
they're processing. Would be my
Yeah.
interpretation.
Yes, because he has a total trust of this work.
He does. Yes.
Yes.
And also, I think that speaks to the trust that people have with you, because I feel like you are a trustworthy person who just you're coming in with love and light, and you can feel that when I work with you.
I really, thank you for saying that, because
Yeah.
I think, and I often preface this with saying that it sounds like a cliche, but I think if we did this work with judgment,
Mhm.
uh, the connection with people's subconscious would not be on point. There would
Yes.
be, oh, okay, let's see what we can do. We'll play around with this for a minute. And then, you know, it wouldn't be effective at all, because without kindness,
Yes.
without having that open heart, no matter what comes up. I mean, a few times, especially on Zoom, I've had to have, I should have won an Academy Award. Taking like,
Just a
n-
poker
no,
face. Yeah.
yeah, oh boy, because some of the things can be, okay, then, all right.
It's
And
intense. Yes.
it's intense. You have to be totally in acceptance,
Yes.
you know.
And I understand I don't do the same kind of work that you do, but I understand that too. People, when I'm a coach, they will say things to me that are they may not have told many other people.
Right.
And you want to stay neutral because you know that is also part of their healing, to actually just say it, to express it. But what I will say, what's interesting about the emotion code, I really want to get this point across, is that you can do the work with you and I can have a session with you. And I actually don't have to reveal everything about my whole life. You can just
No,
zone in on a timeline, or like you're like, something happened to you at this timeline. Do you know what it is? And I'll think in my head, yes, I know what it is. But I don't actually have to tell you what it is unless I want to.
that's
And
right.
the
That's
healing can
right.
still happen and the release can still happen. So why don't you talk a little bit about that?
And in fact, that's why these people of late have gone to sleep,
Yeah.
because they prefer for me just to simply connect with their subconscious, to release everything that comes up.
Mm-hmm.
They close their eyes gently. We usually, in this case, they're on the telephone, so they could be reclining and just, eyes closed, and they let their subconscious do the work. So it can be very private. And the cool thing is, the reason we don't have to discuss what the situation was, or the person, or
Yeah.
how it happened, or when, is because the subconscious already knows, as you said, it's that record keeper. And
Yes.
so accessing that record, and even people who are new to this work get that, and they can just, they chill out.
Yeah.
um, and it's very, very effective.
Yes. And it's not like, therapy has its place, but it's not like you have to go into, well, this happened and this happened and this happened, because
No,
I feel like it bypasses a lot of that. It's like your subconscious knows the answer. We know what we'll get to what we need to clear. And
yeah,
you don't have to relive the trauma by any means. You can
no,
just not to say that sometimes when I had to think back to some memories, that it wasn't chill, but we're not sitting in it. We're moving through it.
right.
We're moving through it.
Remember, we're doing it with kindness.
Yeah.
So if there's something's come up with a family member, and there's just there's always been that difficult energy. Well, if we're doing this with love and forgiveness, and not to say you have to be in
Yes.
that mode, but say, working with your subconscious, then everything just seems to be open, and we
Mhm.
clear it,
Mhm.
and you get to feel that somehow, that lightness, that
Yeah.
shift. And
Yeah.
then you start making decisions differently, or you start,
Mhm.
look how many things you've done since 2015.
Yeah, there's been a lot that's changed since
A lot of changes,
2015.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. And do you have do some people come to you and they say, you know what, I have this pain in my shoulder, and they think that you're just going to work on like pain in their shoulder, but it ends up being something completely unrelated.
Right.
Does
Right.
that
And
happen?
yes, it
Because
does.
it's
But
happened to me.
energetically, it's as I would say, it's all connected somehow.
Yeah.
And that's why in the emotion code book, Dr. Brad has said, just be open to the flow,
Yeah.
whatever comes up, even though cognitively it doesn't make, or intuitively even, it doesn't make sense. But we just, uh, and that I think is to trust the process.
Hmm.
I think is super super I think it's super important just to be open and go with the flow.
Yeah, because I think our logical brain is like, well, I have this shoulder thing. I'll just, for example, it must be some tension in there. And we try and rationalize it and think of some very logical explanation. Meanwhile, it can be something weird that happened to us, traumatic that happened to us at the age of
Right.
10, 12, whatever it is. And that emotion is just literally trapped energetically in that spot. And that's where it's showing up.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, it's really fascinating because it's like, I love when we would go into a session. It's like, we'll start here, but we never really know where it's going to go.
Right. And I always ask for feedback, as I said, and if they're only if they want to, and if there is a question, that might take the session in a slightly different direction. And wherever it does take us, we're meant to go in that way
Mm-hmm.
and clear whatever comes up over here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting using the emotion code and the body code, of course, because it goes into all the different systems in the body.
Yep.
And then we have the belief code. Um, and it's
Which
that
is the newer part of it, right? These are the beliefs that we want to shift out of. Is that it?
that's right.
What would
That's
be
right.
like examples of limiting beliefs that you would shift?
One of the key limiting beliefs so far that I've come across, because even though the belief code is new, the material's new, I learned it the previous, it was called T3 back in 2016.
Oh,
So
okay. Yep.
yeah, I've been using all these years. I am unlovable is
Right.
huge,
Mm-hmm.
or I'm not loved.
Mm-hmm.
I am unsafe.
Mm-hmm.
I am unworthy.
Yes. The worthy piece is huge for everybody.
Huge.
It's like, I'm not enough. I'm not worthy. That to me, those are the two that really are common threads with my clients as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And then you were able to help people shift through those beliefs.
Oh, yes, and then we ask the subconscious, is there something associated with this belief, connected to it, underlining,
Mm-hmm.
or underlying, and then that we start that. Yeah.
Wow.
And then once we get everything, we clear everything, then we ask the subconscious,
Mm.
can we identify a belief to replace this negative belief? So
Right.
it's set up that way. And so there's a process of doing it. And then we install a positive belief, and it can be their affirmation. They can write it out on
Yeah.
a
Mm-hmm.
post-it and put it on their bathroom mirror to say it before they go to sleep at night, maybe, or to say it to start their day in the morning.
Yeah.
And it creates new neural pathways,
Yes. It
a
does.
new mindset, if you will.
It does create a new mindset. We do need to, it starts with thinking the new beliefs and creating the new beliefs. But also, what I love about the emotion code work is we're really shifting it from a deeper subconscious energetic level.
We are.
Because we
And
can't
then,
just say them all day long. I mean, that's helpful for
no,
breaking thought patterns, but you're getting
right,
to the root.
right. And I know Louise Hay,
Yes.
she's one of my idols.
Oh, yeah.
She's done a lot of work that way, but
Yeah.
she did, I think she paved the way for this work.
Yes. Yes. It's like this. It was one layer. Like we're getting to one
Yes,
layer, and then we are now digging to through the layers. And I love to dig. I love to dig like you do.
yes,
And you're going through and doing the work.
yes.
Um, what is it like being an emotion code practitioner as a career? This is what you do now.
I know. I think that if we have a sense of purpose,
Mm-hmm.
uh, to help people to make their lives somehow better for them
Mm-hmm.
or their loved
Mm-hmm.
ones.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, when I do group sessions here in LA, at at Sacred Light at the Crystal.
Yes. Yeah.
People come up afterwards and said, you really seem like you were talking to me. And I also invite, by the way, anyone that they know who couldn't make it that night, let's invite them
Oh, yeah.
there
Energetically. Yeah.
energetically.
Hmm.
And so it gives a sense of purpose for me to maybe make their other people's lives either better in some way.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well,
yeah,
it sounds like it's very fulfilling to you.
it is very fulfilling. And I have a lot of gratitude to be able to work spontaneously with people that, otherwise would not have found a different way to release energies that perhaps no longer serve them.
Right. And then they
Yeah,
can shift and make and start seeing different results. And
that's right.
is there one story that stands out to you in terms of someone just having such a shift after a session or something really changing in their life?
I remember working actually with this lovely client in Montreal, and she had read Dr. Brad's book, The Emotion Code, and so she wanted some sessions. And hers was essentially she wanted to focus on depression.
Mm.
Uh, her husband was a doctor and he retired. They're both retired. And for 12 years prior, she had had ringing in the ear,
Like
tinnitus.
tinnitus? Is that what
Yes,
you, not tinnitus? Yes. Okay. Yes.
tinnitus.
Yeah.
Uh, and when we released the trapped emotions focused on depression, the ring, all that left. She hasn't had ringing in her ear since then.
You're kidding. Wow.
And the reason I say her husband was a doctor, he
Yeah.
tried two
He
different
tried.
methods.
Yes.
Look at that wealth of info and
Yes.
education.
Yes. Absolutely.
So they didn't realize that it was emotional. See?
See, the emotion stuff creates physical symptoms. And for some reason, there's some people have the resistance around that. And yet these emotions are energy. They have to go somewhere. They're
Yeah.
in us.
Yes.
That's a fantastic story. I mean, like that's life changing to have that
Yeah,
experience.
I know. And to help people either emotionally, physically, mentally, it's like meditation where we bring in the mind, body, and soul.
Mm-hmm.
This work.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
That's healing. I think that's
it
what
never
real
gets
healing is.
Yes, and it never gets what's the word when you do something over and over and over again?
Repetitive or stale.
No,
Yeah.
because everyone's different.
I know. It's always like, what's going to happen today? And it's exciting. Like, you never know the conversation you're going to have with someone.
I know.
And the work you're doing, I've been personally championing energy work, but especially emotion code for so long because as I said, it's helped me release so many anxiety symptoms at certain phases of my life. Like, especially, I would come to you sometimes where there was the elephant on a chest feeling. I remember we would talk about that, where
Right.
that for me, the anxiety would trap like right there in my chest. I could physically feel it. And by the end of the session, it would be gone and I'd be able to kind of get traction again, function again. And
Yes.
the
And
results are there.
and remember you had and probably still have, yeah, you had a good friend who had this most beautiful cat.
Oh, the cat. Yes. Duchess,
Duchess.
the cat.
The
Yes.
cat looked like something of
Yeah.
Cat Vogue.
No, she really was
Terrible.
from Cat Vogue. She was. Yeah.
She was aptly named, wasn't she?
Duchess. Yes. She
And
came with that name too. Yeah.
she came on the screen.
Yeah.
And we released some trapped emotions for things that she
I
wasn't doing.
know. I know. She was such a beautiful cat. She's gone to cat heaven now. Yeah, you really helped her with behavioral issues. Like there was some
Remember
behavioral
that?
issues. Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah. I mean, it amazes me today. And I just think that connection, you're helping people connect to their bodies, their subconscious, and realize that this is another supportive therapy to work through both the physical, the spiritual, the mental, emotional, all of those things.
And I was going to mention too, I've worked with a dad and his little girl who's almost 4, and they lost his wife, I want to say last July. And it's incredible how gentle this work is. I
So you're
kind of
working
work.
with the 4-year-old as well?
Yes.
Wow. For grief, I'm like, I mean, grief
Yes.
would be one of the pieces.
Yes.
Wow.
And it's affecting her behavior at preschool and
Mm,
then wanting
gross.
to be held,
Yeah.
as soon as she sees her dad.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh,
So it's amazing. It's amazing. It really helps kids. And I don't have to I can connect with her
yeah.
while speaking with her dad. So
Yes.
she can be in the room because
Yes.
I prefer that they're not in school, that they're at home.
Yeah.
And she can be watching TV and having a snack. And
Yeah.
then we do that work.
Right. Because you're setting the energetic intention to connect. And
That's
we don't need to physically be touching someone to be able to connect with them. I mean, we really need to get a better sense of that as a society.
well, the Dr. Brad has said, I made the comparison. When you think about someone you haven't seen in a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and then you get a text or a
Yeah.
phone call,
Oh, yeah.
that's the example of energy connecting. Yeah.
Yes, literally happened to me this week. I have an osteopath I work with here, and I wanted to get on her cancellation list because I'm not until April, and I was like, I really want to see her. Was thinking of her, sending the email. Did she not email me right back saying, you have literally been on my mind all day today? She's like, I'm sure I'll get I'm still waiting for my cancellation, but it is a thing. It is. And especially
Yeah.
when you're energetically connected to people, and I'm connected to her as I am to you, like I just find it really easy to work with you and chat with you. And I think the way that you conduct your sessions is so amazing. And people immediately, as I said, they trust you. And I know you're helping people heal and in a very gentle way that is honestly helping them move forward. You're
Yes.
helping them move forward. And I so appreciate that.
And the whole idea of confidentiality,
Yeah.
that's important for me in my personal life, raising 3 kids. If one told me something,
Yeah.
I made sure
Yeah.
that I didn't discuss it with brother,
The other
sister.
sibling. Mm-hmm.
And I remember even my daughter at 7 had a little journal, a diary with a lock on it, but she left the key in the lock. And I was, fixing up her room. She was in school. And I saw that diary and I thought, isn't that fantastic? She has the freedom to say whatever
Yes.
is on her mind because she
Yeah.
knows it's going to be private.
Oh, I love that.
And I remember I talked to someone a couple years ago about that, and she said, "And you never read it?" And I said, "No."
Yeah. That's instilling safety. That's instilling safety. Yes.
So, if I'm going to do that within my own family,
Yeah.
do it with the beautiful people I work with. I
I
mean,
know.
what's the difference? We still have to honor their privacy.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's always, you just know that working with you, that that whatever does come up, it doesn't matter because there's no judgment. And honestly, it's just about moving through it. We all have deep, dark stuff that happens to us in our
Do.
lives that we have to move. There's not one person who doesn't have
No.
stuff that's like, or has horrible thoughts or just all the things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I drive through neighborhoods, no matter how gorgeous the homes are, I think to myself, I wonder what's going on in there. What was past?
Yes.
What
Oh,
kind of,
yeah.
because like you just said,
Yeah.
I
Behind
think the
closed
journey.
doors. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Behind closed doors. Everyone's going through something. And
Yeah.
if anyone's actually really wanting to dig into some of these layers, I think emotion code work is so helpful for that. And yeah, I will be continue to chat with you. Now, as we're wrapping up, I want to ask you a question that I'm asking all of the guests on Ditch the Struggle. So I'm curious what your answer is. So, in the spirit of helping people ditch the struggle, what do you feel is most important to commit to?
Be true to yourself, that honesty,
Okay.
no matter what is going on within or around you. Uh, you you count. Try to come from a place of self love. and self-caring. And if you think that whatever you're going through is less than, just allow that total honesty and ownership
Yeah.
to be transparent.
Yeah, like not sweeping our issues or our problems or pain under the rug.
Because we used to have to do that. We
Yeah.
didn't we didn't have these systems available. That's why I went to the library, because all the books were there. Dale Carnegie and
Yes.
Napoleon Hill
Yeah, all
and
the old school ones. Yeah.
all the old school. They were in there. So if you wanted to learn something, you had to open a book.
Yeah. Now we have all these resources. So you're saying, be honest,
Yes.
walk through what you need to walk through, let yourself walk through it, and be the self-care, self-compassion piece.
And maybe incorporate
Okay.
other modality, breath work,
Yes.
definitely meditation or mindfulness, yoga. I went to yoga yesterday and he had us do this amazing meditation at the end. And
Yes.
he'd just spent a month in India, and his name is Deepak.
Yeah.
No, he's been doing this for so long. And I love if somehow if you can incorporate any kind of movement as well.
Movement.
Even if it's a beautiful walk.
I'm 100% on the same page as you. The movement piece is huge. And I'll definitely be having there's a breath work practitioner that I want to have on the show, and all of that, moving the energy, getting the stagnant energy out, and trying all the things. I always say, just try everything. See what sticks, see what works.
Yes.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Rose. I really appreciate it. How can people get in touch with you if they want to have a session with you or find out more about your work?
My website is blissenergyhealing.com. If you contact me and you say that you have heard about me and this working, speaking with you, I'd like to offer 20% off.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, Rose.
And with Canadian clients, we'll work something out instead of that exchange.
Oh, that is amazing. I'll put the show notes below. We'll put all the links.
Okay.
So blissenergyhealing.com.
Yeah.
Definitely go look at her work. And you also have your Instagram account, so people can see some of your work there. And I've seen you do lives before, and Facebook. So you're on all the places.
Yes, we did a lot of lives during COVID.
You did. And I was like, she is stepping up and clearly has worked through visibility, any kind of visibility challenge, because you were on there all the time. And I thought, that's amazing. Very inspiring. We
had so many different people. We had, over 125 people come on. And this is, in the early days.
It's incredible.
COVID. It was good. It was good practice for me too, to get myself out there.
Yeah, that's what we're all doing. So yeah. Okay. So we'll find you online. I'll put the notes below. Yeah. And thank you again, Rose, and we'll chat soon.
And thank you for having me on. It's been just a beautiful pleasure. Give Dolly a beautiful hug for me.
Oh, she will. She loves you. Take care. Thank you for joining me today on Ditch the Struggle. You showing up here means so, so much to me. To dig deeper into the topics discussed today and to learn about my work, visit alanarosa.com. And don't forget to download your free resources while you're there. And if this episode resonated with you, please share with others who also want to ditch the struggle. Go ahead and subscribe to the podcast, leave a rating and a review, and let me know what you'd like to see more of on this podcast. And before I go, I want to leave you with my 3 favorite ways to ditch the struggle. Be your own best advocate, take baby steps for the win, and forget about a linear career path. It's overrated and you are doing just fine. See you next time.